Hey, it's the story so far. This is a warning before this video. It may contain the swears.
And some stunts or other junk that you may find offensive.
So if you're lighthearted, Mormon, or otherwise, maybe even under 18, do not watch this video.
For the rest of you, enjoy what you're about to see.
That's right. We'll see you then.
Hey, here's part 3.
Alright, we'll see you in a minute. Thanks, Nate.
Alright.
And I think I have a real problem with that because they're just trying to bring that, they're trying to bring a negative light to the homosexual lifestyle, which they shouldn't be.
But they're trying to see what they're trying to see if they can't get something out of it for themselves by doing it.
Exactly, but you have that in anything, though, where people are trying to gain fame by whatever means necessary. So if somebody's just selecting their platform of what they want to try and get their fame from, I have issues with that. And I think that that person is wrong and needs to be put away.
But I'm willing to bet you anything you care to bet that happens more with homosexuals or heterosexuals trying to pass as homosexuals than it does with heterosexuals. I'm getting all mixed up here. I'm betting it happens more with individuals who are actually heterosexual trying to pass as homosexual than homosexuals trying to pass as hetero. That's what I'm trying to say.
From what I understand of the homosexuals trying to pass as heterosexuals is they are just trying to be accepted. You know, trying to hide their lifestyle and just be accepted because they are afraid of the persecution that they're going to get if they come out and say, I am homosexual.
But if it is a natural state, if they don't have any choice in the matter, but they're that way because that's the way nature made them, why don't they just say that? Why don't they just come out and say, hey, nature made me this way. I'm not going to try and hide what I am. And I know some of them have.
Because as we have seen in the past, when people have come out and said that, you know, the majority of people have been unaccepted, and instead of just saying, oh, get out of here and walk away, we don't want to see you again, they end up beating the crap out of the guy and in certain cases killing him.
Well,
or
true,
woman.
true. And I guess if there is going to be, if homosexuality is going to become widespread, then there's going to have to be a greater acceptance of it. But you're still going to have to prove to me that it's an actual, you know, an actual state that they're born that way, or that their genes are done that way to make them become that, instead of deciding somewhere along the line, oh, I'd rather be with another guy than with a woman, or I'd rather be with another woman than with a guy.
Back to your argument of it not being a natural state, and saying if we come to accept homosexuality, then we may end up having to accept people, you know, further down the line it would come to where we accept people doing bestiality. The argument for homosexuality possibly being an accepted form would be that you're within your own species. You're not. Bestiality is crossing the line because you're not crossing from male female to male male. You're crossing species from the human race to the canine race or the feline race or fish or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
That is definitely, you know, whereas you're keeping it within your own species.
But if we're saying that it's a matter of freedom of choice, then aren't we limiting individuals who want to have another choice altogether by saying, okay, homosexuals can be together, but this guy who wants to marry the oak tree in his yard, he can't do that because it's not proper, it's not right. He can have 50 million neighbors who are all homosexuals or lesbians, but he can't get married to his tree out in the yard. He can't have that freedom to make that choice. Where do you draw the line on what you call freedom of choice?
There again, I'd have to say I honestly couldn't.
See, that's one of the tough questions. Is where does the freedom to choose stop?
And I don't think that we should stop it. Just because I am an advocate of freedom and happiness. If it makes you happy, that's my bottom line, is if it makes you happy and it's not causing harm, then you should have the freedom to do whatever you want.
Okay,
Whether you want to marry an inanimate object
But don't you think there needs to be some kind of regulations or guidelines or something in place so that things don't go so far out of hand? There's, it's total chaos and anarchy, as I mentioned earlier.
Well, here's the thing, and unfortunately, it's rebutted by the fact that we have artificial insemination now. Is I would say that with homosexual people making their choice, or say you wanted to go the bestiality route or inanimate object, if you decide that's your lifestyle, then fortunately for the majority of people, and once again I say this is rebutted by artificial insemination, but fortunately if you want to marry an inanimate object, your gene's in there. So we don't have to worry about you passing that on and have to worry about it.
Well, like you said,
but with homosexuality now, and artificial insemination, their genes can be passed on. So if it is a genetic condition, then it has the chance to be passed down to their
well, see,
offspring.
and I say if it's a genetic condition, if homosexuality is actually a genetic condition, and as far as I know, there's never been any proof shown of that, then I would be a little more inclined to accept it. But because of the fact that I have never seen anything that says, no, your genes when you're born say you're going to be a homosexual, then I don't believe I don't believe it's a natural choice. Or a natural choice. I believe it's something an individual decides on. Regular heterosexual attraction and love is a natural state of being. That happens. The hormones in the bodies of both males and females cause them to feel those attractions towards one another. But I don't believe that there are any hormones in my body that's going to make me attracted to another guy.
Well, that's you.
Well, I think that's about 99.9% of the male race, the male population.
So how would there again though, your hormones, even though your hormones build up and you find that attraction, well, that's what happens with homosexuals also.
Oh, does it?
Is their hormones build up, I would think, and they feel that attraction, but I think that regardless of attraction, whether you're attracted to a male or a female, you are the one that makes the choice.
Sure.
Of, hey, I'm going to go and be with them.
You're the one that makes the choice. But the fact of the matter is, if the choice is coming from your hormones and you're attracted to a female, that's fine. That's the way nature intended. But if the hormones build up and you say, oh, I'm attracted to a male, then you kind of stepped outside the norm, or you stepped outside the accepted, or you've basically gone with something that to all intents and purposes goes against nature. Because like I said, as far as I know, there are no hormones in anybody that says that causes you to be attracted to a person of the same sex. And let me give you another point. There's an actress whose name I won't mention, but you'd probably recognize it if I did. She has been heterosexual, homosexual, and then back to heterosexual. Now you tell me if that's a natural state, how does an individual jump back and forth like that?
What is her name?
Anne Heche.
Anne Heche. Yes, I knew. I knew exactly who you were talking about.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up since you asked.
I agree. Yeah. See, I think that it is a choice. I agree with you on that. I do have a hard time until we do have solid concrete proof, and I don't know how long it'll take before that is.
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I don't know that it will.
I don't think it will.
But
that's how hardcore I am.
Honestly, I don't know if it will be proved or not through science and all that, but you never know. I mean, they've discovered things in genes.
Okay, there is a way possibly, if they could go with all this gene stuff they're doing, if they could do some kind of a modification on a gene within the human body, that maybe they could create such a thing.
But then you're playing God, and we can't do that.
But there are a lot of geneticists out there who are trying to play God right now anyway. So
they are, but that doesn't. There again, that doesn't make that legal either. So, but yeah, I don't think. I think if it will be discovered, honestly, I don't know that it's going to happen in our lifetime. I think it.
And again, I don't think if it happens, it's going to be a natural state. It will be from somebody messing around with the human DNA and creating an individual who comes out homosexual, right from the time they're born, wanting to be with daddy all the time rather than with mommy, or vice versa, depending on.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, now I've heard a lot of arguments for homosexuality, a lot of reasons for why it exists and why it's permitted. I don't know that I agree with any of them. I think maybe that they can be used as good excuses for why an individual may want to be that way, but I don't believe that they have any validity as far as being used for an excuse or a reason.
Well, personally, I don't think that your sexuality should be used as an excuse for anything. You know, I mean, whether I'm heterosexual, so that's why I'm the way I am, or I'm homosexual, so that's the way I am. I don't think that.
But isn't that the case? Aren't you the way you are because you're heterosexual?
I don't know, but I don't use it as an excuse. Like I said, I personally don't say, yeah, I'm the way I am because I am a heterosexual, but I don't think it should be an excuse for anybody. I don't think that, you know, a gay person should be able to say, oh, you know, I'm a wimp because I'm gay. Because there are plenty of strong gay men out there and gay women, so I just don't think that should be an excuse.
But I'll agree with you on that. But don't you think that because don't you feel like you act or carry on in a particular way because of the fact that you are heterosexual?
I couldn't tell you honestly. I wouldn't know. You know, see, I'd have to rewind my life and see how I would act if I made the choice to be gay. Because who knows, I may act the exact same way that I am if I was gay.
Would you?
Like I said, I can't say. That's a what if.
Okay, I'll agree with you that to a great extent you probably would because of your personality. But I think there are very key points in each of us that we conduct ourselves in a particular way because we are heterosexual or because we think we're homosexual.
I would have to agree. I think there are. I think it does define. I would have to say I do think that there probably is a way that it does define a person's personality and the way they act. So yeah, I would probably say that being heterosexual does define how I act.
Now, I also believe that a lot of homosexuals or individuals who believe they're homosexuals take their cues from television shows or movies and how they see how other so-called homosexuals conduct themselves, and they say, oh, that must be the way, since I'm homosexual, that must be the way I have to be. You know, that's how I have to carry on.
Right.
You see that to some extent with heterosexuals. You know, we see well, let's use an example we're all pretty much familiar with, the action heroes.
Yeah.
You know, most of those guys we assume are heterosexual. And we decide, well, you know, kids decide, well, that's how I want to be. He's a big, strong guy running around,
big, tough guy,
carrying a gun and shooting everybody, and no consequences for
and
it.
getting the women in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
But I think that sort of thing goes on more in the homosexual community because most homosexuals don't have strong role models that are homosexual that they can choose. So they look at some of these choices they've got from televisions and movies and see how they